Hey everyone. Yeah, I'm still doing this. I know. Call me a glutton for punishment at this point. I'm just gonna probably see this to the end, even if no one watches these reviews anymore. But all right. So, following from last episode, this one focuses on Arthur's time with the elves and training and the start of him training with Virion to Virion, Tessia's grandfather, to stabilize his mana core. And I'm not gonna lie, while this episode did have more than the usual couple missteps, there's also there's also subtle little details in this episode that made me kind of appreciate the series more in hindsight. For example, when first getting introduced to Tessia's family, which also again includes her grandfather Virion, the thing with Virion and even her parents uh, no one may notice but does make them unique is that Virion himself is an elderly elf. Like, his age actually does show. And in fact, her parents even have, like, the usual signs of aging, like basically crow's feet around their eyes and whatnot. The reason why I bring this up is because in most cases, if not all fantasy stories, elves are typically portrayed as these immortal beings free from the ravages of time and aging, at least in the traditional sense of the word. But with Virion and just the elves as a whole, as you can imagine at this point, it is almost like when Turtlemee was crafting the story, it is almost like Turtlemee asked the question, what would an elf be like if they were immortal? If they were immortal but weren't entirely free from aging. And it's little details like that that I do appreciate. It's one of those little details you probably wouldn't pay all that much attention to, but it does add a little more flavor and lore that yes, well, what that yes, well, elves are in essence immortal. They're basically they're not free from all the things that the mortal races have. That they still can very much show their age. In saying that, the episode pulls an interesting reversal from the webcomic, which is that it introduces us to Virion first, and then her parents following shortly after, whereas it was the reverse was true in the in the webcomic. It was that we got introduced to her parents first, and then Virion. It's a small change. Probably wasn't worth mentioning, really. But if I had to guess why the small change to begin with, I think it was to contrast Virion with Arthur even earlier on in the series, in order to show that Virion basically knows something is wrong with that. Virion is taking interest to Arthur like even earlier than that. Um, Another big thing I liked about this episode, believe it or not, that carries over from the webcomic, is the conversation preceding the reunion between Tessia and her family, because it's the whole conversation between like Arthur and Tessia's father is that it not only shows the elves' perception of humans in this world and the tensions between the two races, but I also like how Arthur approached that conversation and how he very carefully and calmly explained the situation and circumstances. Like, it's a very simple scene that does show Arthur's ability to be diplomatic in what would be a rather tenuous situation where he would be basically killed on the spot, which in itself, I think, also exposed. I think this that whole meeting in itself also did expose the generational divide in these mindsets, which is, while Virion does still have the same caution and apprehension towards humans in a way that Tessia's parents do, his age and wisdom has also taught him to also show gratitude when necessary, and even be a little more aware of when and take interest in those who might be interesting, you could say, even to a race that, even to the other races, even to a human, or I suppose race that history has taught him to show contempt for. Whereas, again, Tessia's parents, particularly her father, you can see they're still working through those misconceptions. And again, I do like when Arthur gets to the parts about stopping the slavers and asking for help and returning home. Like, it immediately, like, those little things like that really did kind of cover a lot of these perceptions that were shown in this episode in shades of gray to Tessia's family, and the idea that it's what in times like this where there's true tensions and you can't really know and you don't really know if you can trust a certain race of people or anything like that, it's really like the key to the making that first step forward is taking that first step, and in this case, it is kind, as Arthur lays out, it's about what the elves choose to do that kind of is going to color the perception of them just as much as they have a colored perception of humans. In saying all that, this episode did surprise me with how little it cut out in the adaptation, particularly with the Arthur and Tessia moments. Like, I expected ACAT to take this episode even further through the chopping block, but it actually wasn't that bad. I mean, they did cut out, I guess technically cut out a few bits and pieces of dialogue between Arthur and Tess, but most of it was also the more comedic banter bits. But even then, they kind of reworked those moments to a more serious tone, which I do prefer, frankly. Now, in saying that, we do got to talk about art and animation, because again, I'm not saying anything new here. ACAT did drop the ball, and they keep dropping the ball, so it's not saying anything new there. But I will say, for this particular section of the story, what makes it particularly annoying is that because the anime cut corners by not even the anime cut a lot of more corners in the back half of this episode, because one thing that wasn't that was in the webcomic that wasn't in this episode is Virion actually goes through a costume change. He basically throws off his kimono or whatever he's wearing in order to reveal a battle outfit, which he does use to train with Arthur. But here they kind of just they keep it on, and it's, again, I know it's a little detail. It probably doesn't mean all that much in context, but it's little things like little choices like that doesn't exactly give me any kind of hope for the moment when Virion really gets serious, because for all the missteps with art and animation beforehand in this series, what's coming up next is the true animation litmus test for ACAT. Unfortunately, I do also believe it is a test they are going to fail spectacularly. Like, they haven't proven they're really gonna improve all that much, so it's like, I don't believe they're probably going to mess up what's coming next with Virion. Like Virion, like this next couple bit with Virion and Arthur training, like Virion is going to show his power to Arthur, and it's the kind of power that requires a lot of very hefty art and animation work, a lot of hefty lifting when it comes to the art and animation really putting in work. And I don't think that's going to be the case. I'm just saying. But yeah, guys, that's all I got for this review. Again, for anyone who's watching this, yeah, if you enjoyed and for anyone who is watching this, if you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe. I'm on Twitter, follow me Blue Sky, NOS Crunchyroll. Be sure notification bell, subscribe button, and just share it around, guys. Dark Knight signing off. Later, everyone.